to the first ever Doug's postseason. Hold out your pancakes for some maple syrup, but guard them from the packs of wild moose as we kick off the series between the deliberately offensive and the Union Jacks in Canada. Let's see how our two teams got here. It may not surprise you that the deliberately offensive got here on the strength of their hitting, but the hitting was so phenomenal that they were able to land in the top two in the group despite not having a pitching staff. The way their schedule played out, they got all three away games out of the way early on, going 1-2 and only scoring 22 runs. However, their final three games were played at hitter-friendly Coors Field and they went nuts. They were one inning away from going 3-0, but ended up a respectable 2-1, scoring an unheard of 52 runs in 3 games. Leading the way was Mel Ott, hitting .421, racking up 3 home runs and 14 RBIs. His performance and others were able to cancel out the absolute shelling they took on the other side of the ball. Babe Ruth was supposed to be their one saving grace on the pitching staff, but he got lit up just like everybody else, amassing an ERA that was north of 17. The Union Jacks have had some mixed pitching performances, but there's been nothing mixed about the performance of Dave Brain. He was a notorious power hitter back in his day when 10 home runs was enough to lead the league, and he's having no trouble translating that to the era of the Dougs. He's gone yard 4 times, tying him with Evan Gaddis of the Big Bones and Robin Yount of Deliberately Offensive for tops during the group stage. So let's get to the action. Mike Schmidt says yes, let's get to the action. That was the second pitch of the ball game and he goes deep. Offensive keeps it going in the second. Robin Yount up with 1 out and nobody on, and they may want to poutine a new pitcher because that one's gone. That's right, we're doing Canada today, folks. Get used to it. Y'all know what poutine is, right? It's a Canadian dish, though I've started seeing it spring up here in the States. Made up of French fries and cheese curds, and just because that wasn't enough, they threw some gravy on it as well. I feel some things hardening on my person right now, and it's not just my arteries. It's definitely inclusive of my arteries, though. Next batter is Mike Schmidt, and for the second time in 2 innings, he's hit the Schmidt out of it. 3-0 offensive. As he rounds the bases here, I'm going to fill you in on a little rabbit hole I went down. Turns out Mike Schmidt's mustache was voted 6th best in history on Baseball Reference. He comes in behind Oscar Gamble, whose lip hair wasn't the only celebrity on his face. That is just magnificent. We'll fill you in on the remainder of the top 4 throughout the highlights. Tris Speaker got off to a good start on the mound for the offensive. He's here in the second inning with 2 outs, having not given up a run as of yet. But he chucks it. Ed Cogswell of the Union Jacks comes in to score, cutting the lead to 2. Tom Brown up after a walk, and he singles, bringing Ted Lewis in to score. The Jacks have the lead down to 1. Dave Brain up, and oops, he's done it again. He played with my heart. The wild pitch makes it 3-3. So we start the game over, and in the top of the 4th, Deliberately Offensive gets right back at it. Runners on first and second, and it's the owner of the number 6 mustache up once again, and did he do it again? Yes! 3 at-bats, 3 home runs for Mike Schmidt, 6-3 Deliberately Offensive. It looks like Mike Schmidt being on pace for 6 home runs in the game was enough for the Jacks, so in comes Phil Stockman in relief. And he gets Cap Anson swinging. Babe Ruth swinging. And Rogers Hornsby, you guessed it, looking. Who is this guy? Stockman strikes out Anson, Ruth, and Hornsby on 10 pitches. That sends us to the bottom of the 4th. Time to take another peek at the mustache list. Coming in at number 4, it's Keith Hernandez. Interesting fact, there's a Baseball Reference page dedicated solely to listing out the stats associated with Hernandez's lip tickler. As far as I know, it's the only fictional page on the site. Alex Rodriguez hits the mound for Deliberately Offensive, and he gets the first 2 outs, but then walks Bobby Thompson, bringing up Dave Brain. Oh my, that one is going to leaf the yard in a hurry. That homer goes 447 feet and was measured at an exit velocity of 116 miles per hour. Looks like A-Rod took offense to the snot being hit out of his last pitch because he throws at Dick Higham. And Higham, born in 1851, a year before the last duel was recorded in the UK, does not take kindly to the offense. The bench is clear. While we sort all this out, we can tell you that the number 3 mustache in Major League history goes to Wade Boggs. That is some quality stash. And in at number 2, it's Rod Beck. Dude put the man in Fu Manchu. Those are some handlebars anyone would be proud to ride to the flea market. We're out past the fracas, so let's see where we're at. A-Rod and Dick Higham have been thrown out of the game for their instigation of the fight, and Dave Brain's home run has made the game a one-run game at 6-5, deliberately offensive in the lead. Top of the fifth, and Phil Stockman is still dealing. He gets out looking, and Albert Pujols swinging to close out the inning. We fast forward to the bottom of the sixth, and deliberately offensive has widened the lead back to 2 on a Lou Gehrig single, but Hobie Ferris sends it out to right, and it's ruled a trap, no catch. That brings the lead right back down to 1 as it scores Bobby Clack. Ed Cogswell up next, and he Northern lights it up. The Union Jacks hold their first lead at 8-7. Top of the seventh, 2 down, and Barry Bonds steps up to the plate. This is significant because he's in to pinch hit. It's significant because he's pinch hitting for Mike Schmidt, who all he's done today is hit 3 home runs and walk in his 4th and final at bat. I don't know what the offensive manager is thinking. Maybe he knows something we don't. Nope. There's going to be some difficult questions to answer after the game if they end up losing this one. Ozzie Smith comes in to pitch in the bottom of the 8th. George Hall comes up with the bases loaded and 1 out, and that is a clutch line drive bringing home 2. A sac fly makes it 11-7, and Bobby Thompson steps up with 2 on and 2 out, and it seems like a fantasy, but it's true though. The Jacks go up by a touchdown, 14-7. It's over, right? Well, no. We still have the best mustache of all time. Baseball Reference has this honor going to Mr. Raleigh Fingers. Give that man a biplane and he'd rob a bank. Well played, sir. We also have more game. Top of the 9th, last chance, and Robin Yount, 2-run shot. Jimmy Fox goes back to back, and later that inning, Cap Anson with a solo shot. The Union Jacks are starting to shake in their pantaloons. The lead has been shaved to 14-11. Babe Ruth comes up trying to keep the rally going down to their last out. Tom Waddles strikes him out. Game 1 of the playoffs is in the book. That game had it all, including a Mike Schmidt 3 home run game followed by one of the dumbest benching decisions since Hamish tried to lift 125. Know your limits, Scotland. With so much to choose from to highlight, why don't we go the non-traditional route and highlight Phil Stockman? Lewis was getting his face kicked in, mostly by Mike Schmidt, and then Stockman came in and changed the narrative. He went 2 innings, striking out 5 of the most dangerous hitters of all time. What a redemption story for a pitcher who only saw 11 innings in the majors before being released due to injuries. Game 2 will be a big one. We've seen how deadly deliberately offensive can be at Coors Field, so let's see what the Union Jacks can do with their last home game before hitting the road for games 3 through 5.
Well, after that explosion of runs, let's jump straight into Game 2. I'm Hamish Hamden, walking you through this second playoff game. The playoffs. In regular baseball, you may wonder why we don't consider the best team through 162 games the champion, and instead declare the best team by virtue of who has the best rotation in October. But this isn't regular baseball. Our group stage lasted only 6 games, so let's kick on. It's win or go home time, or to be more accurate, a win for the Union Jacks and they're in a strong position, a win for offensive and it's all tied up, and no one is going home today. George Chalmers versus Jimmy Fox is your starting matchup. Chalmers was not just the first Scot, but also the first European to start a World Series game when he took the rubber in 1915 for the Phillies. Jimmy Fox was an alcoholic first baseman who hit 534 home runs in a career that involved 2 starts as a pitcher. It's your classic, I've never heard of him, versus he's not a pitcher, duel that we're known for here at the Ducks. Chalmers is looking good early, striking out the dangerous Schmidt and Anson, but turn down the volume on Tris because this speaker is on fire. Solo shot, an offensive lead, 1-0. Bottom of the first, and we're going to skip ahead a bit here because, like a good stir-fry restaurant, there's been a lot of walks. 3 to be precise, and the bases are loaded with 1 out. Okay, I lied, there's another walk, and that ties the game. Scottish Sport Hall of Famer Bobby Thompson with an RBI single is quickly followed by a sac fly from Ferris, and the Jacks are up 3-1. It should be more, but Thompson is picked off by Jimmy Fox, who, remember, is not a pitcher. Thompson was clearly distracted by the info from seconds ago that he's in the Scottish Sports Hall of Fame, as neither he nor I were aware that we had one. Bottom of the third. It's 3-2 by this point, but it continues to be less fox hunting season and more watch for fox provide the hounds with detailed instructions to its burrow along with a specific time it'll be home. Yes, Jimmy Fox is falling apart. A wild pitch puts a man on third, and yet another wild pitch makes it 4-2. So yes, the Union Jacks are scoring, but not in a particularly exciting way. Lou Gehrig tries to make up for this with a blast in the fourth, but it's still 4-3, and offensive can't continue to give up runs, so they turn to Mickey Mantle. And why not? He was legendary from both sides of the plate, so why not from 60 feet in front of it? Well, it would help the Mick if he could get some fielding. He gets a grounder to short, but 1982 Gold Glover Young botches the play. Mantle balks at the idea he needs to keep pitching, but you can't balk on the mound, and that's another base. Chalmers doesn't care he's facing a pitching hitter. Chalmers is a starting pitcher, and starting pitchers bunt in this situation. Fundamentals, people, you've got to respect it. Unfortunately, it comes to nothing, as Triss is speaker for the dead, gunning down Hugh Nicol and putting an ender to this inning, if not game. Bottom of the fifth, and Tom Brown steals second to get men at second and third. As a player, Dick Higham collected colours. He played for the White Stockings, the Dark Blues, the Greys and the Canaries. But today he's collecting RBIs, and that single gets him 2 and makes it a 6-3 ballgame. Top of the sixth now, and Mantle shows exactly why he should be hitting balls instead of pitching them by making it 6-5 with a 2-run home run. This is exhausting, Johnny. Are all deliberately offensive games this long? I've got things to be doing. We need to edit these highlights down, so just take my word for it that the Union Jacks made it 7-5, and we'll pick it up in the top of the seventh again, where, oh good grief, deliberately offensive are at it again. A single from the Babe cuts the lead to 7-6, and then Rogers Hornsby does what he did over 300 times when alive. No, not cheat on his wife, he hits a home run. And the Union Jacks trail for the first time since Tris Speaker's home run way back in the first. Way back is also an appropriate call for this shot from Mel Ott, and now it's 9-7. Well, I hope you're sitting comfortably, because we're still not done. Bottom of the seventh now, and in comes Roberto Clemente to pitch. If you're not familiar with Clemente, he's basically the baseball equivalent of Mr. Rogers or David Attenborough. Universally beloved, there's a Sportsmanship and Community Service Award in Major League Baseball named after him. And he was as well known for his charity work as he was for baseball. Unfortunately, deliberately offensive may have been better off with David Attenborough on the mound, because Clemente is currently performing his charity work from the rubber. First, he walks Harry Smith to load the bases. Then a wild pitch makes it a 1-run game at 9-8. Then he walks George Hall, and the bases are loaded again. Then he walks Hugh Nicol, and the game is all tied up at 9-9. Haven't had a wild pitch in a few throws, so here's one, and it's 10-9. Yet another walk brings up Tom Brown, and Clemente is now improving because at least this time he makes Brown earn his RBI. A single makes it 11-9. Clemente is finally pulled without recording an out. So things can only get better for deliberately offensive, surely. Well, perhaps not. Their bullpen spits out Barry Bonds, and while Balco works on his fastball, he throws a wild pitch to make it 12-9, then a double makes it 14-9. Oh look, this has gone on far too long. You can see where this is heading. The final was 15-9, and I have no idea how deliberately offensive made it this far with no pitching. Maybe I should actually have watched Johnny's Group A videos. Anyway, the Jacks are up 2-0 in the series. Bobby Thompson led the way, going 3 for 4, and the bullpen blew it for offensive on account of them not having a bullpen. So this series takes a break for a moment, as we're back on Wednesday with games 1 and 2 of the second semi-final. That's Big Bones versus the Weak Prescriptions, the Heavy Terrors versus the All Errors. If you like what we're doing, like and subscribe. If you hate what we're doing, email us, because Johnny checks the inbox. I'm not dealing with that. I'm just here to tell you the Union Jacks lead this series 2-0, and until next time, the Dugs are closed.